All right, so today we're back at Beyond the Brand. Welcome to Learn to RV, the podcast. So this week is really neat because I've actually known the family of this company for quite some time. And so I want to introduce you to Tommy Henderson of Henderson's Lineup. So Tommy, say hello to our audience.
Hello.
So, Tommy and his company, it's very neat because you don't find a lot of businesses that are doing what they're doing. So number one, they're suspensions. And so they're mostly motorhome suspensions, but if you go to Oregon, they'll do it all. But you may have seen them at a rally, and a lot of times they do inspections on chassis while you're at the rally, so you know what's going on. But what makes them so different is they are a multi-generational family business. And so let's take it back to that, Tommy. Did you always see yourself as the new owner of the company?
Oh, man. I would say it was a journey that got me to a place of being ready to do that. I know my dad had really, that was his dream for probably my whole life. The business really was, and still is, I think, his pride and joy. My grandpa started in 1961, and that there's a story there too, but my dad really is the one who grew it to what it is today, starting in the 80s and going beyond just a repair shop. And so I think, once I got to the point of seeing the amazing opportunity that is, the opportunity to, bless employees and also people in the motorhome community, so that's really what got me to that point of being ready to do that, ready to take that step. And it was a process too. I didn't just step right into the position of running the company. I came back to work here in November of 2021 after worked for 6 years at Cummins Diesel Engine Company, did application engineering there right out of college. So I did get a degree in mechanical engineering. And, I just was ready for a change, ready for getting out of the big corporate environment and into something a little more dynamic. And so over about a 4-year period, it was November 21 when I came back, and January of 2025 last year when I did officially take over and just kind of gradually worked up to that.
Awesome. I think as, a parent that has a business, it feels like you're doing it all because you want your kids to take over. And when that doesn't happen, it definitely, I don't know, it makes you reevaluate why you did what you did because you felt like you were doing it all for your family. But at the same time, I also understand the other side of it is that kids want to do their own thing. Let's take it back to kind of your grandpa because, Beyond the Brand takes us like all the way back. So how did Henderson's Lineup get started? Do you remember as a kid going to the shop?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I remember coming into the office and going out in the shop. I remember it's funny, the little things like the water cooler and those little cone paper cups as a kid. My dad get me a drink of water from that. In high school, I worked cleaning up the shop. That was one of my first jobs after school, and gradually worked into doing more of the wrenching and hands-on stuff from there. But yeah, definitely grew up really in this building and in this company.
Well, let's talk about the location because it's such a neat location, but obviously not everybody's going to be in Oregon. So, you guys have always lived in Oregon, correct?
Yeah, our business, well, yeah. So my dad, I guess depending on how far back you want to go, he was born in Fort Bragg, California.
Oh, okay.
And that was where my grandpa and grandma Henderson moved after the war. So they're both from Nebraska. They moved to Fort Bragg. And he was born there in 1955. And he heard of an opportunity up here in Grants Pass and took that opportunity to buy a shop. It was called The Lineup in 1961. So June of this year actually is going to be our 65th year. So we're excited for that. Yeah, where it started was more cars, pickups, some of the logging crummies, which was like the pickup trucks, the logging crews would run up in the mountains. Interstate 5 was just getting put in at that point. At that time, it actually had a 70-mile-per-hour speed limit.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, we've actually gone down a little bit from there. But they weren't balancing the brake drums on the car. My dad tells the story all the time. So they were vibration all the time. People run higher speeds back in the 60s. And we were located up on the north end of town, not far off the freeway. So it was really a great position to start getting into that, learning about wheel balance and alignment and all that. So yeah, been in Granite Pass since 1961.
That's crazy. So, you know, we're a military family, so I feel like we moved every 3 years from the time I got married to my husband. And now we're full-time RVers for the last 13 years. So we're never anywhere more than a month usually. Like a month is a long time. But so it's neat to see like how businesses thrive that are stationary, that are doing that type of business. And you have people come to you from all over the country.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. People will come from Florida, we'll meet them at a rally out on the East Coast, and they'll make their way out to Grants Pass. It's, yeah, very rewarding to hear those stories. And I mean, Grants Pass is a pretty neat area. I'd say
It
tourists,
is.
it's probably one of the main industries around here. So, we're hour from the redwoods, hour and a half from the coast, couple hour drive to Crater Lake, and just beautiful area. It's still my favorite part of the country. I went to school in Ohio, to college in Ohio. That was a big change. It really made me appreciate living here. Just as used to being surrounded by mountains all around. So going to a place that was more flat. Well, Midwest has its own beauty. I definitely missed Grants Pass and Oregon and decided to come back here.
Yeah, well, there is nothing quite like the Pacific Northwest. You guys, your strengths are very different than a lot of other companies. I know your dad specifically puts faith first. Would you say that that's part of it for you as well?
Absolutely. I mean, he would say that it was really God who sustained his business through the financial crisis of '08, '09. That was a really, really rough patch. And, he sought to run the business for God, and I do too. I look at it as, God has blessed me with this opportunity, and I'm not going to take that for granted. And that really informs what we do, just in terms of one, just whatever you do it for the glory of God. So for me, that means doing things the right way and doing it the best that we can. And part of that too, just treating other people the way that we want to be treated. Just in practical aspects, I never want somebody to feel like we're pressuring them into buying something or telling them something that's not true. I would much rather lose a sale than lose our integrity.
We're very much alike in that way. And most people are probably like they are with us, my RV drive's fine, So how do you come back and have those conversations when somebody says, well, no, everything's fine. It feels good. And then then you get out there and you're like, how is it driving fine?
Well, yeah, it's funny. There's different people have different views on what fine is. So I think a lot of times it's just educating them of, if you could make it drive better, would you like to do that? And what steps would you like to take? What aspects of the way the coach drives would you like to improve upon? And it depends on the chassis, where generally these motorhomes are not, I would say, unsafe to drive in normal conditions. There are some exceptions to that. Some of the F-53 motorhomes, before they went to the bigger sway bars, I would say the amount of sway and body roll you get from those was kind of borderline unsafe. The old P-32 chassis, the amount of sway as well as steering play you could have in them, that is arguably unsafe as well. But generally, they don't drive horrible. But when you run into wind, when you get on a really narrow road, say construction zone, you're trying to, you're taking up that whole lane. You're kind of trying to thread the needle there. So if it could be less fatiguing to you to do that, would you like to take steps to improve that? So that's one way we look at it. And yeah, it's funny, just on that point too. A lot of people say like, I don't really need a sway bar. Or, I don't need better shocks. All you need to do is get the coach aligned. And I find that funny to use the term need, because it's like, well, do you need a motorhome? Uh, for most people, the answer is no. This is something they're choosing to enjoy and use for vacations, or maybe they're full timing and seeing the country. So, it's already something that you're looking for a fun thing to do in it. And if you could make travel time in that motorhome less fatiguing, more enjoyable, then I think for most people, they say it's worth it.
Let's talk about alignment. So, how important is alignment on the I mean, like, we drive a dually and we know it's important. But, like, if you were just talking to somebody that's brand new to RVing or maybe somebody that's been around for a couple of years, what's the differences in, like, a standard OEM type alignment slash with a standard system and maybe your system? Because your system is superior than a lot of the OEM components that are out there.
So yeah, so alignment, our components for the most part don't directly affect alignment. I would say the exception to that would be like on the P30, P32 chassis, where that is a critical alignment component, and ours is more precision, so it lets it maintain its alignment. In general, what separates a good alignment from a not so good alignment? Well, for one thing, a lot of times these chassis, maybe their alignment is set from the chassis manufacturer, and then when the coach is put on it, that alignment is not checked, reset again. So what does that mean? Well, under load, especially with an independent front suspension coach, picture your wheels going like this as the front end sags, right? So that alignment can change under load. And not to mention, everybody's loading, the way they load the coach, even after they receive it, is going to vary. So it's a good idea, especially with an independent suspension coach, to actually get the alignment checked after you take possession of it and have it fully loaded.
Oh,
Uh,
that's a smart idea.
yeah, and then getting the coach weight at the same time. We always encourage people to get the coach weight, so leaving it the way it's normally loaded going down the road. Otherwise, alignment, I mean, a lot of shops, it's just like green is good, just get it in the green zone. And two, they may only be looking at toe. So toe in is like if they're looking down from above. Toe in is like your tires are together. Toe out is like this. So while that is a critical factor of alignment, it's not the only factor to consider. So there's camber, so that's more like your vertical, the way your wheels are. Positive camber is the tops of the wheels further apart. Negative camber as they're closer together. And a lot of shops may not really pay too much attention, especially when it's the front axle heading that. Then caster too, which is that's what lets your steering come back to center. That's often neglected as well. And a lot of times we're finding we need to run more caster just to really get that nice positive return to center, positive center point feel on the steering. So lots of different factors to alignment. Thrust angle too. That's the rear axle of your coach, the drive axle. A lot of people don't think about that. That's part of your alignment. So if your rear axle is sideways going down the road, you've actually got to steer to
Backwards.
for that up front. Yeah. So then you got your motorhome going down the road sideways. Maybe you've been behind a semi truck or something where you may see some of that happening. That would be that the angle of the back axles is not perfectly centered to the length of the trailer. So lots of different factors there.
That's interesting. So you have something called a road performance assessment, and a lot of people drive a long ways to come get it. So can you talk a little bit about what that is and why they come to you for it?
Sure. Yeah. So the road performance assessment, this, again, one of those things my dad really championed, developed. It's a systematic process to first test drive the coach with the customer over a route that we're very familiar with. It's about a 16-mile set of roads that we drive the coach on. And again, we do that with the customer. We've got trained technicians who will do that. And that's really critical. I think a lot of shops will test drive the coach, maybe a short route without the customer riding along, but really critical to have the customer there too, so that you can show the customer what you're feeling and the customer can tell you what they're feeling when they're driving the coach. We'll go over rough road, highway, we'll point at a sudden lane change, which that can be pretty revealing to that.
Okay.
That can be
Yeah.
a little bit surprising to people. Don't try to warn them. Basically, it's like if you had to swerve to avoid some debris in the road, we want to know or show you how your coach would handle it. So that's a big part of it. So after that road test, we'll get it back in the shop. We'll weigh it on all four quarters. We'll inspect all the suspension components, and we'll actually bring you down underneath the coach too to show you what we find. So full transparency is what we're striving for. We let you see what we're focusing. and just inform you of your options. Then from there, we'll give you recommendations on first any repairs, anything that's obviously broken, worn out, needs to be taken care of. We'll recommend that to you. And from there, any upgrades, anything that can help the way the coach drives, help you enjoy driving it more. We'll do whatever work we want to do. And then after all that work is done, we'll try it with you again, verify that you're happy with it and you're happy with it. Because that's what we're really striving to do, is make sure that we're addressing real issues and actually providing tangible improvements to the customer, and not, it's not just throwing parts at the problem and hoping something sticks.
Right. No, that's awesome. So, I've known you always as Henderson's lineup until about a year ago, I think. I realized there was more to it. And so let's talk about the Super Steer line, because that one is your baby. I mean, essentially. So let's talk about Super Steer line and what that means, for the RV industry.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, it's funny, maybe know us by one name or the other. Like, I got that Henderson track bar or whatever. And so, yeah, Henderson's lineup is the parent company of Super Steer. We started the Super Steer brand back in 1990, getting back to that P30, P32 motorhome chassis. It was the bell crank that the factory unit was it's like either way too stiff or too much slop in it because of the way the bushings were in it. And so we replaced that bushing design with tapered roller bearings to get you more positive steering feel. You can adjust all the play out. So that was our first Super Steer product. Since then, our Super Steer product line has basically evolved into our own brand of parts. So the bell cranks, rear chock bars, front radius rods. We've actually recently partnered with Coney to do our own Super Steer branded version of shocks for the back of the Sprinters. Super Steer is
that's cool.
Yeah, we were really excited about that. That was kind of my first R&D project back at Henderson's lineup. Yeah, so Super Steer is our brand. It's also kind of what we call our store for the selling parts across the country. So if you are an RVer on the East Coast and you can't make it out to Henderson's lineup, but maybe you're a DIYer, you can buy parts from us through our supersteerparts.com website. You can call us. My Uncle John Henderson actually runs the Super Steer side of things, and he's got well over 40 years, probably close to 50. And maybe not quite that. He's not quite that old, but he is, yeah. He's got a wealth of experience there, and he'll answer the phone and answer questions for you, and give you recommendations for your coach. So that's really what Super Steer is. It's both our brand and also our outside sales to the people or to shops. We've got a lot of dealers, a lot of shops across the country that buy parts from us and install them. So really a network there as well.
And you can connect people that way, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Let's talk going into weight limits. And a lot of people don't realize they're overloaded. And so, that is a super important factor. But, especially with closets and refrigerators and pantries being put in slides, and sometimes that's right over the wheelbase. How does that affect your suspension? Can you speak a little bit about why weight matters in those situations?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, your suspension components, your brakes, your axles, all of those are designed to a certain limit. The tires are really the most critical thing that we want to look at. So in terms of what has the greatest potential for harm to you because of overloading, tires are up there pretty high. That's probably the main thing. You want to make sure that you're not exceeding the load capacity of the tires. A lot of times, the gross axle weight rating may be tied to the limitations of the tires that are spec'd on it, or it may not. On the back of the Sprinter 3500, for instance, the axle weight rating is lower than the max weight those tires could carry to their max capacity. But okay, and first, though, you're running enough pressure for the weight that you're carrying as well. And each tire manufacturer will have a chart that says basically at this weight, you must run at least this many pounds of pressure in your tires. So if you're not running enough air pressure in your tires for the weight you're carrying, that can overheat your tires, can cause premature wear, and this can cause a blowout. So in terms of overloading, that's the most immediate thing that we want to look at. Beyond that, overloading and you can wear out your brakes prematurely. You can wear out your bearings, axles, cause your springs to sag out. If you're overloaded, you're maybe bottomed out, so you may be having more rough of a ride compared to what would have were it not, in the proper loading range. There's also some liability aspects there too. That if God forbid something should happen and it turns out that your coach was overloaded, then that can cause some exposure to you from just liability and so that's something to consider as well. But also just in terms of the way the coach handles, the more weight you're carrying, generally the more sway you're going to have. Also, the higher up that weight is. So again, my parents have a 22 Winnebago Navion, and it's so it's for a 3500 chassis. It's got one of those little beds, bunks over the cab, and they've got that thing full all the time with stuff for all the rallies they're traveling to, and some of that includes some parts they put up in that little bunk. They're not sleeping up there; they're just using it for storage, and you can definitely feel it in terms of sway at that weight higher up, raising that center of gravity. It's going to drive differently and not quite as good. And I think I mentioned before weight distribution too, front to back. In terms of stability, the more weight you can have, the more forward in the coach, as long as you're not exceeding the gross axle weight rating out the front, your tires are running enough pressure. That is going to make the coach more stable, as opposed to if the load is shifted farther back, it's just going to be more twitchy. And I realized that that does it's sometimes easier said than done in terms of how it's to be loaded. So we actually just bought a 2016 Forest River Forester E450 Class C. It's kind of a new project for us as a company, and all the compartments up front pretty tiny, not a whole lot of space. It's got a massive compartment in the very back of the coach. All that overhangs. It's like, okay, yeah, that's where I'm probably going to end up putting a lot of weight, and it's not going to help the way this thing drives. But a little bit of weight sometimes can help it ride better, though. Like, let's say, going from driving it completely empty to running a little bit of weight in it, sometimes that can actually improve your ride. So that's also something to consider. There is kind of a sweet spot in there as well.
We've known plenty of people that put that hitch off the back of their fifth wheel and then the bounce on their bikes back there, and they just end up dragging them someday. It's not right away, but they don't realize. I think so many people just don't realize how much extra bounce there is at the back of any rig. It doesn't matter. The bigger it is, the bigger the bounce really is how that works. So, if you're in a 44-foot fifth wheel and you've got bike racks on the back, or a generator back there that you're carrying on some kind of trailer, the chances of that bouncing is very different than, say, if you have those bikes inside a toy hauler and you're carrying them inside. So, you have to be mindful of all of those things. And I think so many people just don't realize what that looks like in real life for this. Right. All right. So let's talk about all your links and resources, because we've got quite a few of them. HendersonsLineup.com. You guys have a full website there. How would somebody schedule their road performance assessment with you this spring and summer?
Yeah, so they can use the link on our website, HendersonsLineup.com, to request an appointment. They can also email service@HendersonsLineup.com. They can call 541-479-2882. So there's different ways of reaching us. Our team checks all of those as well. So you can get a hold of us that way.
Awesome. And then Supersteer, you mentioned that earlier, but let's talk about how somebody would order through Supersteer if they were wanting to get it, but maybe can't come to Oregon this summer.
Sure. So supersteerparts.com. We have a year, make, model search, so you can enter your coach information there. That nice. Covers the more common makes of coaches. Some of the less common ones we don't have in there yet. So if there's ever a question, you can call us on the Supersteer side as well, 888-898-3281, or email sales@supersteerparts.com. We really do pride ourselves on our customer service and answering those questions. So if you're ever in doubt, just give us a call, send us an email. We'll get things cleared up for you.
Well, and I know you guys love the education side of it. So, I mean, like, going above and beyond. The other side of it is when they call you guys, they're going to get somebody from your home office in Oregon. They're not getting someone outside the country, correct? So,
That's right. Yep, yep. We're all U.S. based, and yeah, we've all got experience. Like I said, John, my uncle, he's on the phones all the time. So if you call, you'll either get him or somebody else on his team. And if there's something that the other team member doesn't have an answer for, we'll get it to John and he'll get that answered. And on the website too, I forgot to mention, we've actually got a brand new thing, our chassis solution center. One of our team at Supersteer, she really built this out very nice, where you can actually filter to your specific model of coach and what types of issues you're trying to solve. We've got that up now for the F53, the Sprinter, and several other models so far. So we're working on expanding that as well. We've also got our learning center on there, so a lot of blog posts, helpful articles too. So we're really seeking to educate RVers.
yep. And I mean, on that note, you guys are going to be a part of the Learn to RV, the course that we're building out. So we're very excited about that. One of the things about that is having the experts in the industry be that voice. And so we believe that, Henderson's lineup adds so much value to the community and the RV space. And we just thank you for that. So, all right. Well, on that note, thanks, Tommy, for showing up today. We appreciate you and, where Henderson's lineup is going. What does 2026 look like for you? Do you have lots of shows and rallies that you'll be at?
We do, yeah. I mean, we've already been off to a pretty busy start. Coming up, we've got a couple of different Super C rallies we're going to, a few other local ones, and we've got some exciting projects. Like I mentioned, our E450 now, so we're going to have a video series going on that, which I do want to plug our YouTube channel as well. That's really an avenue for a lot of education. So we're really trying to put out even more educational and interesting content on our YouTube channel too.
That's awesome. We'll get that one listed on Learn to RV, our YouTube recommended channels. And if you like any of this, all of that will be in the show notes. You'll have a way to get to every single one of those links that Tommy mentioned. Okay, so if you're a business and or a brand that's out there and you're looking for a featured spotlight, this is the way to do it. Join Learn to RV beyond the brand and come on and share your story. Tommy's story is a unique one. 3 generations, and it's kind of one of those things that you don't often see pass in the industry. Those family traditions and keeping them alive is a great portion of what we do, even here at Learn to RV, is we want it to stay family owned and operated. We think that there's something special about those types of businesses that aren't bought by the bigger companies that are actually actively in that space, in that industry. It's kind of without limits, and it's just kind of a special place for all of us. So thanks, Tommy, for coming on today. And we'll see you next time around the campfire.